Chapter 1.1 Introductions. Since the contagious disease COVID-19 was declared a pandemic in March 2020, governments around the world have put in place numerous measures to contain the sickness, such as preserving physical distance. Young adults were viewed as a low-risk category for COVID-19 hospitalization and mortality at the time, since older people were at higher risk for a more hazardous or even a fatal course of the disease. The effects of the epidemic on mental health have drawn more and more attention. 1.2 Background of study. With greater rates of anxiety, depression, substance misuse, and disordered eating than the general population, university students are becoming more and more recognized as a vulnerable group. Therefore, the strain on the susceptible population mental health is increased whenever their educational experience undergoes a significant change, such as when they remain indoors during COVID-19 pandemic. College students are among those most severely impacted by COVID-19 due to uncertainty regarding academic success, future careers, and social life during college, among other concerns. Additionally, they experience difficulty completing the project as a result of their health, such as persistent headache that impairs their ability to think clearly. Students indirectly disregard their education as a result of this. 1.3 Problem statements. The odds of anxiety were higher among female students compared to among male students. Males and females typically express their emotions differently, and the recent epidemic may have made their difference even more pronounced. According to studies, women have a lesser tolerance for uncertainty than men do, and when that barrier is crossed, it results in excessive worry and anxiety. In the study, the younger students, specifically those in the age group of 17 to 18 years, were more anxious compared to the older ones. As widely known, youngsters are constantly on social media, and the information shared on social media could have played a pivotal role in increasing the anxiety level of the students. 1.4 Research question. What the resilience level of university students affected by the impact of COVID-19 and lockdown? How university students manage the psychological impacts of COVID-19 and lockdown? What extent of online learning achievement was seen by university students during COVID-19 and lockdown?
We move to the next point. 1.5 Research objective. This study objective is to study the resilience level of students affected by the impact of COVID-19. Number 2, to discover how university students manage the psychology impact of COVID-19 and lockdown. And lastly, to evaluate the success of online education among university students during COVID-19 and lockdown. The scope of the study, due to the fact that students with depression, anxiety or others recognized disorder have poor academic performance. Next, they experience difficulty completing the project as a result of their health, such as a persistent headache that impairs their ability to think clearly. 1.7 Significance of study. This research will teach students how to recognize the reason of neglect and how to avoid it. By giving students the chance to adjust their thinking, attitude, and life goals in response to the challenge of the COVID-19 period, this survey aids students in improving their academic performance. 1.8 Definition of terms. The experimental independent variables are directly under the control of the research. Then, given the dependent and independent variables are employed in relation to one another, it is clear that they can be used together to tackle a study issue. Summary for this chapter is, here we can conclude that by studying this first topic, we can know the importance and scope of business research. In turn, being able to explain what research is and how it is defined.
I would like to present for Chapter 2, Literature Review. I will start for introductions. The introduction include a discussion of methodological issues and suggestions for future research. The purpose of this research is to study the impact of anxiety during COVID-19 and lockdown among university students. It is about mental health among university students has reported a high prevalence of psychological symptoms. The definition of the impact of anxiety during COVID-19 and lockdown among university students. Many studies have been added to the literature investigating the relationship between university students and their stress and anxiety levels during COVID-19. Students investigating stress and anxiety levels have been conducted among university students. Psychiatric and counseling services have historically been underutilized by college students. Antecedent of the impact of anxiety during COVID-19 and lockdown among university students. The sudden change in the mode of teaching due to the potential risk of death caused by COVID-19, isolation and lockdown have increased the anxiety level and created extreme stress to the general public and students alike. COVID-19 has negative mental and social consequences. For example, a large body of research links social isolation and loneliness to poor mental health.
Our group has three independent variables, which is poor health situation, lost motivation, and financial problems. Begin with poor health situation. For example, blood pressure, depression, and sugar levels can be measured as specific intervals to determine someone's health. Most students are unable to stabilize mentality due to not really understanding what they are learning, feel unable to concentrate, and sometimes miss class due to internet problems. Next is lack motivation. Motivation is related to a person's behaviors. They include decisions making of doing something, duration of doing, and how much effort will they put in. Problems such as mental or physical health, substance abuse, and other personal problems can interfere with students' motivation to work hard in the studies. Now is some financial problems. Students feel affected by the COVID-19 situation because they depend a lot on other parties. These financial problems make students feel stressed because they have to think a lot and consider whether it is necessary to carry out in order to think about the health of outsiders. Now, let me present about relationship how poor health situation directly shaping students' anxiety impact of COVID-19. Although the student seems to be in good condition but not in his feelings, the most affected is diseases. When it is a rise or terminal illness, it makes students feel stressed whether they want to continue living or not, because when studying online it doesn't go as smoothly as planned and many are delayed. Students need to relax or concentrate instead of forcing themselves in every aspect. Second is relationship how lost motivation directly shaping student anxiety impact of COVID-19. Students must encourage themselves their desire and determine the direction of their action towards the necessary goal reach. This loss of motivation is only due to students' lack of confidence in making assignments and feeling useless when learning online due to lack of knowledge. When the COVID-19 pandemic, students need a high spirit so that they have more confidence in themselves to move forwards. And lastly, relationship how financial problem directly shaping student anxiety impact of COVID-19. Students will feel sad when they think about it when they do not find a solution point. Therefore, students will do part-time work by doing business online, because when the lockdown, the student also takes advantage of this time to stabilize the finance step by step. Financial problems cannot be ruled out and stress cannot be prevented, but at least students have an effort to change their fate and enter a new world even though COVID-19 hints. Thank you, that's all from me.
For conceptual framework stated by the investigations and study to obtain on the impact of anxiety during COVID-19 and lockdown among university students. The summary in the chapter, the researchers has discussed the whole health situation, lost interest and motivation, and financial problem as the independent variable, while the impact of anxiety during COVID-19 and lockdown among university students is the dependent variable. The relationship between every independent variable and dependent variable, hypothesis, and the concept of the framework.
Now I would like to continue my part, which is the part 3 for the methodology. The introduction. This chapter is about methods for analysis. Obviously, this chapter describes the type of analysis used to complete case study. The research methodology used to perform this report. 3.2 Research Design. This study employs a quantitative research methodology because it will involve continuous and exceptional numerical data. The numerical form is another name for quantitative data. Quantitative approach can be used in this study since the researcher is looking for information regarding anxiety among Malaysian university students during the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown period. 3.3 Population and Sample. A sample is a random selection of individuals from a population. It is a smaller community with characteristics drawn from the entire population. The population is the result of observations and assumptions made in relation to sample data. The sample size refers to the number of people who took part in the study or discovered the results. 3.4 Sampling Technique. The researchers choose cluster sampling as a probability sampling strategy for their study. Samples were collected from the younger or adolescent generation as the target group. The younger generation samples were chosen at random from each venue at numerous Malaysian colleges. Next, 3.5 Instrument. This questionnaire is designed to collect undergraduate students' declaration of difficulty and the amount of data they will get. The surveys will then be authorized for use in obtaining information by researchers. The poll focused in investigating anxiety among Malaysian university students during the COVID-19 pandemics and lockdown period. 3.6 Data Analysis. In this analysis, the researcher employs descriptive statistics to interpret the basic and common aspects of the data. The descriptive statistic method will assist the researcher in transforming the acquired data into meaningful information through the application of various statistical calculations. Before I end this presentation, let me conclude some summary of the research. The researcher will gain a full understanding of the study as established by the research design, population and sample, sampling technique, and data analysis in this chapter. The researcher may also be familiar with how to use the research design and work, as well as other study components. This chapter also will explain how the questionnaire was administered and how it may be used in this study. That's all from our group, and thank you for watching and goodbye.